News that migrant detainees were undergoing forced sterilization procedures captured the nation's interest only for a few minutes. And of course, then they moved on.
Right.
It's corporate media is such a train wreck.
Well, the president got sick, and oh my God, and there was a debate, and we miss the real stories that are happening.
Talk
in this
about it. This is a nauseating story. The only positive on this, is at this point they don't have all the evidence on this case. If they do, this is a very, very ugly case.
Right. So basically, to take it back, I guess about a month or so ago, whistleblower nurse who had worked at this detention facility, a woman by the name of Dawn Wooten, came out and said, listen, there is evidence that says there is an abnormally large number of hysterectomies being performed on the women in this Georgia detention facility. Shortly after that, you had some of these women start coming forward and say, yes, I'm actually one of them. I had a hysterectomy. They didn't exactly tell me why it was happening, or they may have exaggerated the number of cysts that I had because a follow-up at another appointment said, no, this was not surgically necessary.
See, that's where the screw turns, you see. This doctor who they call the uterus collector. I mean, that's his name, the uterus collector. Well, he says, I did this because there was this large number of cysts, ovarian cysts that really concerned me. And I don't know how many women he saw, but right now there's at least 5 to 7 women that I've been able to calculate in these stories. Does that number sound about right?
Right. So far from what we know, that's how many there are. But this doctor has a bit of a troubled history. I was looking through it actually earlier today, trying to find more backstory on this man. And it turns out back in 2015, he got popped by the DOJ, a very easy slap on the wrist kind of pop.
Yeah.
But he had submitted, according to the DOJ, fraudulent claims under Medicaid and Medicare. And it was fraudulent billing. He was saying, oh, I performed this procedure, and this procedure. Turns out he didn't perform them. He was just doing it to get extra money. And that was 5 years ago that he was fined for it, activity going all the way back to 2013.
Yeah.
So this, to me, is one of those stories. Had they actually punished the man, he wouldn't have been around to do this.
It's always the same story.
It is.
They will not perp walk CEOs of corporations. They rarely perp walk doctors for this kind of thing. They slap them on the wrist and then they move on. But you see, that fits so perfectly into the story.
It does.
Obviously, if he's doing hysterectomy, the billable number on that is higher. Yep. He comes up with an X-ray to remove cysts. Well, it's a fairly substantial number of involvement of cysts and those types of blockage possibilities that raise the need for surgery. And so the women that were looked at least a few of them, went back for a second opinion and said, did he really have to do that? And then, of course, it's Monday morning quarterbacking.
Right.
But the doctors say no, he didn't. But if you look at this guy's history, you have to believe that you can't change the stripes on a zebra.
Well, and I think, to me, that's a big part of this too. This isn't necessarily the Trump administration is sterilizing people.
No,
this is you've got a real bad doctor who has a very serious and very real history of upbilling, and he found out, okay, I can't say I'm doing a procedure and not do it, so I'll just do the procedure. I think that's what this evolved into with the doctor.
Because it's more money.
Right. Well, I can't just say I did it. They're going to notice if this woman didn't have it. So let me just do it. I've done it 100 times. I know how to do it. It's fast. It's easy. I can bill it. More money for me. This is a migrant. Who cares? And that's the other part of it. They think, well, it's not a U.S. citizen.
Right.
It's not somebody who can go to a lawyer. They're here illegally.
But honestly, I don't see this as an ICE undertaking to get these people. That's where the story gets a little weird.
I think there's a big disconnect between the two. Right.
The Senate's still refusing to take up any new stimulus legislation as millions of Americans struggle to pay their bills. Yeah, there seems to be enough funds to bail out fossil fuel companies to the tune of $100 billion. I got to tell you, when I started seeing this story develop, it was just like, it's almost takes your breath away. Here's an industry that's on the decline, right? They're in big trouble financially because of the natural market. Nobody put them there.
Right.
The natural market put them there because of bad decisions they made not to move into alternative energy and try to prop up the slagging fossil fuel problem. So now the government comes in, just like they did with all those thuggish bankers, you know, when they lost all that money because of pure criminal conduct and greed. This is another story, isn't it? Same story, isn't it?
It is. And the more disgusting part about it now, too, is not just that they're doing it for the fossil fuel industry that failed by its own, you know, decision, but they're doing it at a time when 61% of American families right now are reporting that they can't make ends meet. They can't pay all their bills. We have an eviction crisis that is looming where tens of millions of people could be kicked out of their homes because they haven't been able to pay their rent for the last few months during the pandemic. And we have multiple different bailout bills sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk because Nancy Pelosi, to her credit, and Steve Mnuchin, to his credit, they've been working together. And they both think we have to bail out the American people.
Okay.
And so you've got Trump saying, make it happen. Pelosi saying, make it happen. Mnuchin saying, make it happen. Mitch McConnell says, I'm done. He said, I'm done. I will not pass another piece of stimulus, but
I'll give it to the bank.
yeah, if you guys need it,
Yeah.
the corporate pigs are just getting fatter and they're ready for slaughter.
Okay, but you see, both parties built this monstrosity.
Yeah, absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
Both parties built this. And both parties, when they built it, knew that so much of the money was going to go back to Wall Street. You know, can you imagine Wall Street making claims for something like this? It was going to go to the arms industry, which also collected money. It was going to go to the fossil fuel industry. But the thing that's so incredible about this is we all know the fossil fuel industry is getting ready to fall off the cliff. So with $100 billion, all we're doing is delaying that fall. We're just making it a longer process, aren't we?
Yeah, and the fossil fuel industry came out a couple weeks ago, and this was a big underreported story again. They announced definitively, we've hit peak oil in the United States. We will never be able to pull out as much oil as we did today. So every day after that, you're getting less and less. So they know they don't have a lifeline. And any one of them, Exxon right now, could have been, if they had done it, the leader in windmills.
So far ahead.
They could be huge profits off that. It's crazy.
So far ahead. There's another part of it that everybody misses this story. We have these thousands of rigs, oil rigs, that are leaking methane.
Yeah.
You understand? They've been abandoned. The company got everything they could. They left. And now they want taxpayers to clean that up. So now that's going to be much more than $100 billion that we've given them for no good reason. No strings attached. We didn't say, here's $100 billion. You need to start closing down some of these rigs that are they're leaking methane. I mean, just tons of methane into the environment. And we said, no problem. You're the your big corporate donors.
Well, and the other side of this too is not only did they get the millions and millions or billions, in this direct bailout, they also received, I think, $32 million in those PPP loans that were supposed to go to small businesses. $32 million went to fossil fuel companies who had also paid $52 million in fines. So they got to basically recoup the cost of their environmental fines by taking money that was meant for mom and pop businesses.
And oh, by the way, the environmental fines, they don't actually pay them.
Right.
Taxpayers end up paying because they write it off.
Yeah.